Welcome everybody to Fergun the Freak. I'm your host, the Glorious League Freak, and today we are announcing a book launch. Our friend of the podcast, Jayme Smith, has written a book called The Caitlyn Diaries. You can pre-order the book now and it goes on full sale on the 20th of November. All of the details on how you can purchase the book will be within the episode description for this podcast. I sat down with Jayme and we had a really good discussion about what influenced the book, her time as a writer, and it was a fantastic discussion. This is a really good book. I've read it. It's fantastic. It's very entertaining. If you're looking for a new book to read, this one's for you. So here is the interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. What I want to know about is, when did you first start thinking about writing in a creative way?
In a creative way?
Yeah.
Well, I've always been a big reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even remember. Like, obviously, I started reading when I was young because that's where you learn to read. But I've always read Babysitter's Club, Goosebumps books, stuff like that, Fear Street. And I think I was pretty young the first time I read. You know the series Twin Peaks?
Yes.
So I remember watching that with my mom, which I probably shouldn't have, but whatever, who cares? So I watched that as a kid, and then there was a spin-off book called The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was written by David Lynch's daughter, Jennifer. And I read that. I think I was like maybe 7 or 8 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my sister's book. So I just went into their rooms and like stole their shit all the time. And I read that, and that's what made me want to be a writer.
Wow. And do you remember how old you were?
Yeah, I was pretty young. I think I was 8, maybe.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was young.
Now, you've got a really interesting story about your father asking you what you wanted to do, and you had one choice and then you went with another choice.
Well, ever since I can remember, actually, when my sister was 18 months old,
Mm-hmm.
and my mum was pregnant with me, we had a 2-story house, and my sister fell out the window.
Oh, wow.
Of the upper story.
Mm-hmm.
So she fell out the window, landed on our dog, and had to be airlifted. And I think it came from that, going to Queensland every year, going to Surfers Paradise. Like they bought timeshare at a resort up there.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go there every year, every holiday. So for a week each holiday through the year, and 3 weeks at Christmas. So one Christmas, I didn't see my dad a lot when I was a kid because he was off doing his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And him and my mum separated like when I was 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So one year he came to Queensland and he was like, it must have been when I was heading into high school, because he said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, oh, well, I don't really know. Like, who knows? He was like, okay, we'll go get the University Admissions book.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through it and you can see what interests you. And so I went through, and at first I was like, oh, maybe a marine biologist. We were at Surfers Paradise. So I was like, SeaWorld's up the road. There's a beach next door, because the resort was right on the beach. Like, there was the building and the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, marine biologist, sounds all right. Not that I was ever smart enough to do that, but whatever. So he's like, okay, cool. We'll go to SeaWorld. We'll meet a marine biologist. You can find out what they do. They can tell you. So he organised that. I have no idea how, but we went and met a marine biologist. They showed us around SeaWorld behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Like, it doesn't sound as good as the book made it sound.
Yeah.
And so we went back. I was like, I think I want to be a writer. He's like, okay, well, you don't need a university course for that. I'm going to go get you a pad and paper and you can write. And that was his way of supporting me, I guess.
And it's interesting because, like, he said to you that the way you do it is you just start writing. And it's funny. It's the best advice. Like, if you want to be a writer, and it's the same thing if you want to do podcasting, you just start. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait for the setup. You just start getting stuff down and you go on with it from there. And if you've got a gift for it, it shines through really quickly. Did you know, like, from that moment, did you start writing stuff down? Did you start creating different stories? And from even back at that point, can you see some of the beginnings of the Caitlyn Diaries from what you were writing back then?
Well, honestly, I think I was writing before that moment too. When I was in, I think it was year 4, I got chosen to go to a writing course type of thing at a different school. There was 2 people from each Catholic school, because I went to a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
There was 2 from each Catholic school sent to the school, this other school, to do the course, and we made a book out of it. So I knew pretty early that I liked writing,
mm-hmm.
but it was more like a thing that I liked to do, not something that I thought, oh, this could be something that a career was made of, because it seemed more like a hobby than something to make money out of.
Yeah,
and that's what a job was to me. Like, you have to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So I always wrote from then, and I think because I read The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, and that kind of pushed me to write different things, like more grown-up things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it did start from there, and I slowly progressed from, like, childlike things to more teenage grown-up stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Caitlyn Diaries, you've been working on the first book in particular for over a decade. Yeah. It's been a real labour of love, and it really is about love, because, as you say, it's not something that you ever thought would really see the light of day. It was something you just enjoyed doing, enjoyed writing and building this world. And it's really cool because it really comes across as a world that you've created. These people feel real. These relationships feel real. It must be really amazing to be at this point now where you're releasing it, and you've done a couple of pre-releases for people to review, and the reviews have been absolutely outstanding. That must be incredible.
It is. And it's weird because I'm going to be real. This is the second take of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been someone who is into self-promotion or talking about myself. I've always been like, if I've done something nice for someone and they're like, oh, you did this really nice for me, I'm like, yeah, but remember when you did that good thing for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I've always tried to deflect from anyone complimenting anything I do, because it just makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really weird when people are coming to me now about something I've created, and they're like, oh, this is so good. I'm like, really? Are you sure? And so it's like so bizarre to think that something that for over 10 years I've thought, even if no one ever likes this, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been something that I thought, oh, this will make me $1 million. It's just been, this makes me happy.
Yeah. And so it must be really cool to have these characters you've built yourself and put together yourself, these relationships that you've written about for so long. Now, all of a sudden, people are talking to you about them, and they're talking about Caitlyn, and they're talking about Bentley and they're all of these characters that you have in the book. Now they're having a conversation with you, almost like they're gossiping about something, real people, and it's something you've created.
I know, it's weird because it's not just a book to me. They're like real people.
Mm-hmm.
They have conversations in my head, and I'm invested in their story now.
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that's been going for so long. And so I need this to work out. Like, not the story to make money, but I need their story to work out.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And now people are like, oh, like, I love Bentley. He's so hot, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, really? You see him as a real person? Because I thought that was just me being crazy.
But that's the thing about your writing. They feel like real people. Like, you flesh them out in a way that is really incredible when you read the book. And there's a gift you've got where you really make the entire thing. Like, you don't just build a one-dimensional person. You know, you build someone that's got a heart and a soul. And I think that that's really creative. And you've done such a great job of not only doing that with the main characters, but all of their friends and their family members and their acquaintances as well.
It's so weird because I didn't know that as a writer, the lesser main characters, the better.
Yeah.
I didn't know that people were like, oh, people get confused if you put heaps of characters. I'm like, but people have friends.
Yeah.
Like, I found that weird. So I was like, no, I'm going to make these characters, but you just need to think they're not all the same. People aren't the same, so characters aren't going to be the same.
True.
You need to give them their personalities.
So tell me a little bit about Caitlyn and her personality type. And she's the main character in the story, but she's an interesting person as well.
I think, you know how like most people make a book and the main character is meant to be the protagonist?
Yes.
I feel like Caitlyn is a bit of both. Mm-hmm. She's the protagonist for herself, but everyone else looking in is probably like, no, you're a bit fucked up. And I think with her, she is seen in the books from an outsider's perspective of people around her that she has everything easy. She's perfect. Her parents give her everything she wants. Her life's really easy. And if anything fucks up for it, it's just because she is an arsehole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't see the depth of her, like her mental health
mm-hmm.
and her history, what she's been through. And so I think everyone is just like, well, you have all this perfect shit and you're just an arsehole. You're just a piece of shit.
Yeah, and the effect that she has on everyone around her is, I mean, it's pretty heavy what she puts a lot of the other characters through. Yeah,
the thing about her is nothing that she does is from a place of spite or
mm-hmm.
malice.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't intend to hurt the people around her.
Mm.
But her sense of self-preservation is the most prevalent thing in her mind, even if she doesn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't think that she's screwing other people over. But she just needs to make sure it's all right for her in her head.
Yeah, it's not like she's calculating.
No, she's not. Unless like there are some things which obviously I can't be like, oh, she does this. But there are certain people in the book that she will do things for that are calculated to make sure they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she will hurt other people that she doesn't care about to make sure that person that she does care about is all right.
Now, tell me a little bit about Bentley, because he's one of the characters you've got a lot of feedback about. You've got a lot of positive feedback about, which is really interesting. Tell us a little bit about him, because he is probably he's definitely one of the main characters in the book, and him and Caitlyn have a really interesting relationship.
Bentley is one of those people who he's a bit of a riddle wrapped in an enigma. Like, everyone thinks he's one thing, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
The same as Caitlyn, but Caitlyn's is internal. It's like a bit of a nurture versus nature type of thing. Caitlyn is naturally fucked up, but Bentley had this upbringing that made him into this person that other people are scared of, but he isn't that scary person. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And the way people react to him, it's really affected by how they perceive him. And the interesting thing is that with him and Caitlyn, to a certain extent, they cut through a lot of the bullshit that's around each other, and they really see each other at a certain level. But he tends to get a lot of negative things for the way he's perceived, whereas Caitlyn, she doesn't get that negative feedback all the time.
I think it's obvious that she could do the same things as Bentley, but because she is from this nice family, her dad's a detective in the police force, she's this nice little rich girl. And people are like, oh no, she could do no wrong. Even though she, half the time, pushes Bentley to do the things that he does, that people see as a bad thing because of his reputation. And I think that a lot of people see them as she's the person being manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
But she's actually a nice girl. She's just been led astray.
Yeah.
But they're wrong. I think Bentley's the nice boy who has just been shaped to be this way because of the people around him and the way he's been treated.
Now, this is the first book in what is going to be a series of books. It's a 300-page book, so it is a sizable book. And it's released, I believe, on the 20th of November.
Yep, 20th of November.
Excellent. People can pre-order it right now on the CaitlinDiaries.com.
Yes.
You don't need a PayPal account. You can just use your credit card, and it goes through a system. It's all secure. It's ready right now for everyone to pick up, and when the 20th rolls around, it gets sent out to everyone.
It does.
Are you looking forward to seeing the feedback when, I know you've got a little bit of feedback right now, but because you've had a lot of sales already, when all of those people start reading your book and you start getting that feedback, I mean, that's going to be really exciting, isn't it?
I am. I'm so excited about it because, especially in this current climate of outrage, this outrage cancel culture, I'm really excited to see how a lot of people react to specifically the guys in my book, because they just say what's on their mind. They don't care if they hurt people's feelings. They don't care if it's not politically correct. They don't care, because what guys who, because they're criminals, all of the guys in the book are criminals. None of them care if they hurt your feelings. They don't care if they break the law. I can't wait to see how people react to it, because they say a lot of stuff that people would say is distasteful towards women. They say, you've read it. I mean, what do you think about the way they act?
You know what? It's pretty full on at times, but I think that it is. I think there's a lot of realism in it, and it really does. It comes across as though they're real people, and they're real people from their environment that they're in. And I think that's what makes your writing so fantastic, is that, that this environment that all of these characters it's like they've been brought up in it, and you can see it by the way they talk to people and interact with people and the way that they think about themselves and other people. And it's part of your creative process that makes this such a great book to read. And I think that that's what people are going to really enjoy when they read the books, with the first one coming out on the 20th. And then when you release the following books as well, I think people are going to love it.
I just hope that people go in with the mindset that they want to be entertained.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be something that has a political statement. It's not meant to be something that tries to influence people about religion or tries to have a statement about domestic violence or tries to have a statement about religion. It's not any of that. It's meant to be entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope as well that the serious parts are taken as such and the ridiculous parts are seen for what they really are, ridiculous parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some really good laughs in this book. And as you say, there are some heavy moments in the book as well, but they're all very well balanced, and you do get the gravity of the more serious situations as well, it's fantastic. So people can follow you on Twitter. Do you have your Twitter handle there?
One thing I didn't prepare for.
It's all right. I can bring it up for you.
Thank you.
It is. Let me just grab it here. It is. Let me find it. It is Jayme Author. That is Jayme Author. They can find you there. If you go to the CaitlinDiaries.com, and that has the Instagram account, that's got the Facebook account, and it's got the Twitter account all in the one place. So if you want to follow you on social media, that's the place to basically go, as the Caitlyn Diaries.
That is the place. And I'm active on them all.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
leave any of them out.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on. It's fantastic to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for you. This is such a great book, and you should be really proud of what you've put together.
Shut up. Didn't I tell you we don't do that?
Jamie doesn't like praise,
no,
so
I don't.
Make sure you go onto all of the social media channels and praise her and the book.
Don't do it. You are a monster.
Thanks for coming on, Jamie, and can't wait to talk to you again.
Thanks. Buy the book.